Hello, everybody. This is Debo with Debo's Film Reviews. This week's movie review will be Equilibrium, directed by Kurt Wilmer, starring Christian Bale, Taye Diggs, Sean Bean, Emily Watson, Angus Mafadyen, and Sean Pertwee, featuring William Fichtner and Dominic Purcell. That was an odd little tidbit of how four of these actors, some of these actors have appeared in DC Comics various adaptations. Like, of course, Bale's been known for Batman. Purcell is now on Legends of Tomorrow as Heatwave, Mick Rory, and then you got Sean Pertwee, who in this film plays Father, as he went to Gotham and played Alfred. Which, off topic, I'd say he was one of the best Alfreds I could think all around. But back to Equilibrium, man, I gotta say, for a film that's basically ripped off Demolition Man, I gotta say it's kind of better than Demolition Man. For one thing, Demolition Man didn't have gun kata, the whole martial arts style invented by director Kurt Wimmer, according to Internet Movie Database. And then you got, the combat choreography in this film just set the standards for action movies yet to come. I mean, I mean, come on. It's about like I said, if Demolition Man was directed by John Woo, because old Wimmer basically took a lot of pages out of the Woo playbook and did them on par. Man, I'd like to see those two collaborate on future action movies, because about his movie alone that puts Wimmer in the same caliber with Woo of greatest action movie directors of all time. Man, and come on, you got that, and I mean, man, John Preston with Christian Bale's performance as John Preston, and I'm just like, oof, that guy could shoot. As a dystopian lawman in what was a pretty much another prime example of a new world order, where everybody's docile, can't feel. Everybody has to take these shots that suppress feelings all, which starts off a whole series of events. With starting with Sean with Bale Preston, and then Sean Bean's character, who was also a cleric, and then of course picks up a book by William Butler Yeats and starts feeling again, and breaks out, and then the government kind of realizes he's broke programming, and then at the beginning he has to old Preston has to give one of the most give Sean Bean one of those character one of the most iconic Sean Bean death scenes in an action film. And of course, you have with excellent performance by Taye Diggs as the replacement lawman, and how kind of a transition of John Preston, how he went from the most toughest and dedicated lawman of this iteration of the NWO. I mean, Mr. Top Cop and all, one that set the standards for all the other clerics, and I mean just with conformed who conformed, enforced the law with an iron fist, and even under the influence of those shots, of those government mandated shots, he did have to. I mean, man, it did have to drop the dime on his own wife till that time he supposedly ran out, couldn't get a refill because he had to work and all. And then me sees this woman that looks like his wife, and then PTSD kind of from the loss of his wife, kind of, because in this film, for those who've seen it, nonconformity meant burning it, meant forced into the oven, cult like. Talk about like I say, if Demolition Man, if it took place in a society meets Wolfenstein kind of deal, because these guys are not Nazis, but just the equivalent to it, just equal opportunity killers, and the clerics were. And whew, and talk about how what when he sees the woman that looks like his wife, then he's tasked to kill that dog, and then he kills his two fellow officers, just taking some martial arts, just spinning some shotguns around and going bam, wipes them. Woo! Talk about some talk about some of the excellent gun choreography and film history. I mean, that's one like I've already mentioned, but as I'm gonna be kind of just be biased on that one of how much of a standard it is, and an excellent performance of Sean Pertwee as father, who basically, I mean, just constantly just blaring subliminal messages and like what was like V for Vendetta, Demolition Man, RoboCop, all the movies types, which V for Vendetta and RoboCop I will review review also in future videos. So yeah, leaving some recommendations in the comment section, and I'll get to them. But overall, one Equilibrium is a cinematic masterpiece for a low budget actioner that felt like a big budgeter. I mean, with just the performances of not only Bale, and I mean that man gives his all when it comes to films, along with Angus Mafadden and as DuPont, who, and spoiler alert for those that haven't seen it, was the one really running the government after so-called father was dead for 20 years, and he just been using the image to like a metaphor for Project Bluebeam. You know, that's an actual conspiracy, but dystopians, you gotta have the few far between define the fine line of politics, pop culture as a reviewer. And of course, that guy was always, I gotta say, old Angus was always one underrated actor, and so is Taye Diggs. And I would say this is kind of one of my favorite of his films. Films for films that were slept on masterpieces, and then you just get that society kind of like, I've read fan theories about how they all try to say this is Equilibrium and Matrix are connected, but I don't believe them. Nothing plausible. But I just love my theory about how it's like what Demolition Man, kind of like a what if. It's a deal on Demolition Man. It's kind of like what would have happened in Demolition Man time if Cocteau didn't pick some other evil desperado instead of Simon Phoenix to unleash his new world order. Although Equilibrium was more just like America, just all of America, or kind of like to rip off Judge Dredd with Mega City 1 of his old town and outskirts and all. And old fascist society with Big Pharma, of course, lobbied the dictators and all. But overall, Equilibrium is a must watch for anybody who's an action fan, sci-fi fan of Christian Bale. Period. I mean, old John Preston. I mean, that kind of guy was an excellent take on a character for somebody who starts out as a villain and then becomes good, becomes Mr. Good Guy. And talk about one of the greatest shots in film history. Guy can mix martial arts and combat choreography with just a couple of pistols, taking on the government single handedly. I mean, just how he could reload with just them magazine clips from out of his wrist and all. Woo! Talk about how to reload for some custom, just single handedly just taking them down with custom Berettas, and then runs up the resistance after the beginning he did try to put the same people he put away at the beginning of the movie, and how he took down that system, and of course when his son stopped, I mean, agreed to stop taking their, when, or should I say, Preston and his kids stopped taking them after the same New World Order that their daddy enforced killed their mom, and then John later had to follow suit and begin with, but because he was supposed to, I say, excellent performed by a kid who tried to beat who was Mr. NWO sycophant, and tried to be all like that was how he pleased his daddy, or didn't it just. But then he made the son proud when he just single-handedly took down Fowler and DuPont, played by, which is Angus Macfadyen's character. I mean, overall, if I haven't already mentioned it, Equilibrium gets a 5 out of 5, or better yet, a 10 out of 10, because for one of the greatest dystopian movies of all time. And the cast chemistry was on par, the character development, and the action. I mean, talking about some of the greatest gun choreography I've ever seen in the film, and that's saying a lot, because that's pretty much what was the debate what really debated the audience to the film. Film was how much of an expert marksman and martial artist that Christian Bale's performance of John Preston was. And talk about an epic dystopian tale, which was criminally slept on when it first came out, but is a cult classic. And in the words of Siskel and Ebert, I was like, y'all know the drill. Like, subscribe, enjoy, people.